United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let the roll call reflect the attendance of the various trustees, department heads, officials. Let's move on to item 3, entertain a motion for the approval of the 9/20 village board and to file the 8/23 joint library board and the 9/7 finance committee meeting as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
As always, comments, questions, clarifications on the minutes. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Anybody in the audience on a non-agenda item? Let's move on to item 5. Any information has been presented in normal fashion. Let's move on to our public notice for tonight regarding the floodplain ordinance. And Carmen, are you familiar with reading the statement of notice?
I'm not.
I can take that to the statement of public notice shall read, the purpose of the public hearing is to review and comment on amendments to the Village Municipal Code, Chapter 21, referencing the floodplain ordinance.
Okay. Go ahead, kick us off.
Alrighty, so what's coming forward this evening is a update to our floodplain ordinance based upon a recommendation from the Department of Natural Resources and FEMA. What triggered this floodplain ordinance update was actually a letter of map revision for an area just across Cedar Creek in the city of Cedarburg, which actually falls within a floodplain jurisdiction that does carry over into the village. So with that letter of map revision process, as part of that review, FEMA dictated to the DNR, who in turn dictated to us that our longstanding floodplain ordinance needed an update. That said, before the board this evening is the updated text of the updated floodplain ordinance, utilizing the model provided to us by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources in accord with FEMA's guidelines and standards. I understand Director Wolf is here this evening as well and can provide some additional background, but that is the high level of this matter before the board.
Yeah, and it did come to us from the state. So is there anything you wish to add or any pieces of the puzzle here?
No, it's fairly straightforward. As Administrator Tice indicated, it was kind of a, I mean, it was initially triggered by the LOMAR, the letter of map revision, kind of brought us to the attention of DNR. And then I think they realized that our floodplain ordinance was, fairly outdated, and we needed to update it to the current model. I would like to thank Katie Olson, the clerk. She went through with a fine-tooth comb and made sure that the current ordinance reflected our numbering procedure for the village here. I really appreciate her help.
I think there's one other item of note here. It's just simply a nuance where it was dictated to the village staff that this public hearing be held before you, the village board, as our plan commission does not have floodplain jurisdiction. Therefore, it was dictated to us. We needed to bring this directly to village board for the public hearing, which is kind of unique in circumstances like this, but nonetheless, here we are.
All right, thank you. I didn't see anybody come in that's not staff or press, so I'm assuming there's nobody on the sign up sheet, so I'll open it up for public comment for anybody in the audience or on the Zoom. Hearing none, I'll open it up to the village board for any comments they may have. Yes, Tom?
Is this something that we share or communicate with the city of Cedarburg at all? Do we need to do that? Or is it as a courtesy possibly because it affects property in the city of Cedarburg rather than Grafton?
No, the city of Cedarburg has been, they're the ones that initiated the process, and they're including us as courtesy. So it's really the other way,
Okay.
not our way to them, if that makes sense.
No, that's good. I didn't know. I wasn't sure whether we were just doing something in a vacuum because it came down from DNR or Cedarburg is on fringe.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Cedarburg is the one that initiated the letter of map revision.
Okay.
So the DNR included us as a courtesy.
So that was the one that came to the city and came to us and also to the county, right?
Yes, and this process has taken 5 years.
Yeah.
So back in 2016, the letter of map revision did go before the plan commission, just as again, as a courtesy. We reviewed it and authorized the submittal to DNR, and then they went forward with the review process.
Other questions for Jessica?
So did we have anything in our books then formally prior to this? Any type of,
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we had a floodplain ordinance.
okay,
Yes.
and are there a lot of different changes in this new ordinance?
No, I would say there are some tweaks in the districts, the
Okay.
floodplain districts, but some of them did not apply to Grafton, and so they are, DNR authorized us to remove them. But the content as far as allowable uses within floodplain districts, impacts about how much you can change, or that you need to supply details about, if you want to impact, if you want to have a structure in the floodplain, it is possible. You just have to prove that you're not going to raise the floodplain level. So those kinds of things, I think there was some clarifications.
Okay, I thought maybe we'd get like a red line showing us where the changes were, so that's all I'm concerned about. This
Yeah.
looks good to you then.
Dan?
Yeah, Jessica, a quick question. Are there any properties in our village that are affected by this given? I mean, I'm still kind of thrown on this that we don't have a map that shows us what properties might be affected by
And I
this.
did provide that to you today, Administrator Tice, was that forwarded to trustees?
It was, it's quite possible that just during the course of the day, didn't have an opportunity to see it.
Oh, okay. I did send you a map. So this is for a subdivision in Cedarburg. It's called the Glen. They get at the Glen and Cedar Creek. And they basically, there's a cul-de-sac with three or four homes on it. And the grading that they did change the level of the floodplain on their side. I mean, I obviously know it's water into it, it doesn't stay in its lane, so to speak, but there weren't any significant impacts on the east side of the creek. No.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Does board feel comfortable acting on this item tonight? That being said, we'll go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing and move on to item 9, resolutions or action items. Item A is a motion to approve the ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 21 floodplain as presented.
I'll offer.
That's just an ordinance, just takes a motion.
Motion, I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Motion is second, final comments. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Let's move on to item B, report of the finance committee. It's one item, and this is an item that was talked about in our last finance. Motion to recommend the village administrator enter a contract with private contractor plan review services on behalf of the community development department. I think Jessica made a good argument for the amount of work that's being done in the inspection area. Is there any further questions or anything that has transpired since the last time we talked about it?
Unfortunately not. Our building inspector, Jim Duchek, has been in contact with a person that he knows in the inspection world, and they are talking about having this person do plan review. So that's where we're at.
Okay, if there's no objections, I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion.
I'll second. Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Good luck, Jessica. Move on to item C, for the finance committee, and that's one item. That's a motion to recommend the village board approve the Department of Public Works fleet lease program and enterprise fleet management. Be approved.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is second, final comments, questions on that item.
Yeah, I do. I have a couple. So I thought about it a little bit and I tried to do a little bit of research. I know that there's some communities around us that do have this lease program. Some have it for public works, some have it for the police department. I guess I would feel more comfortable waiting to see how our program for the police department works out. That's just me personally. I feel like we're gonna jump in with both our feet with two departments, and I just feel unsure about how that's gonna work. So for me, right now, this isn't a good idea for me for Public Works.
Comments, questions? Yeah, Jim?
I will just reiterate what I've said from the beginning. I'm concerned on the back end with vehicles being used by the PD and then hammered down, sent down to Public Works, Park and Rec, hand-me-down vehicles that will no longer be there. So I'm still,
You know, in the analysis, you can easily add 2-3 vehicles through the lease program, so they'll have hand me down, they have newer equipment and newer vehicles, safer driving. Safer vehicles to drive.
Other questions for the chief or Paul? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
opposed.
Show of hands, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion passes 5-2. Thank you. Let's move on to Board of Finance of Chem 4. And that is regarding utility billing services for city water, and that came out of our discussion prior to this meeting. Is there anybody that has further comments or questions on that item? I think we have pretty good consensus of direction. So we won't call it the long-term option. We will use the phrasing that was presented in finance, and I believe that was documented. Anything you wish to add?
Just to restate that phrasing, it was the motion to recommend the village board contract with City Water LLC, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for utility billing services and direct staff to research options for appropriate staffing. Which would mean we're coming back to the finance committee with that research.
Any questions on that? I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second, final comments. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Move on to item E, report of the Public Safety Committee. We have one item, and that's a motion to approve the adoption of ordinance section 2.60, lost, unclaimed, and abandoned property contingent upon the village attorney's review be approved.
This ordinance is coming forward after being tabled at the last village board meeting to allow for additional time for village legal counsel to review said ordinance. That said, it has passed muster and is back before the board for action.
Questions for the administrator or for legal?
Sure. Or comments?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking it over, and again, and I don't know if this first section, the first 3 whereas were in the last packet we had. But I guess the only thing I guess I would say is that it looks like things that are small sums of money that are found or items that are found will be, be given a notice, and then they'll be disposed of or repurposed. And the only thing I guess that concerns me, and the profits of that would go to the general fund. And the only thing that I don't really like is if there's anything related to the controlled substances or I guess cash that is found related to those types of items, that money will stay within the police department account. Now, I understand that it's the police department that's going out to find these and arresting people and things like that. But I guess it says that money will not be used for things like capital or things like that. They'll use it for law enforcement activities. And I guess that could be a significant amount of money. I'm not sure. I mean, we've never been notified of anything like this.
Just to make clear, and we could discuss the policy concerns, but that language was in the original ordinance. We did add the recitals setting forth the reasoning for public interest, and we simply indicated that the thought was that the amount of investigation and crime detection that goes into the drug crimes would result in that money going back to the police department. But that, I'm just pointing out to the board that language, the money going back to the police department, that was in the in the first version of the ordinance that you saw.
Oh, yeah, that portion I know.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure. So how much are we talking, chief? Do you have any examples?
I don't have any concrete numbers for you. This is not something we've done in the past. It's available to us through the state law. Wisconsin statutes allow us to do that. This is not something we had ever taken advantage of, so we're bringing it forward to have that put into our ordinance.
Just when I've been here 16 years and police department has never brought any money over that was strictly drug related. They usually once or twice a year will bring unclaimed money over that we deposit, apply to the general fund, which
So-
is probably $100 a year.
Okay. So in the past, what's happened with money like that? With drug
Not
money?
aware of any, I honestly, I couldn't tell you. This is something that we're working through with our new audit that we're working on in our property room. And we've come across money now that we don't know what to do with, so
Like, can you give us an example of how much money?
I don't know. I don't have an exact amount. It's not like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. I guess I just don't know, $10,000, 1,000. I mean, I don't know. It's just up in the air for me.
This would be, similar. So let's say we make an arrest for somebody who's got cocaine or methamphetamines or something like that.
Yeah.
And we can't tie that money to the crime, but for whatever reason, the officers took it to try to prove ownership of the money and how it was determined, right? So it would go in there and sit, and then if the officers came out, or if the guy was convicted or whatever, they never claimed it, then it could come back to us.
Right. Right. I understand the process. I'm just curious as to the amount of money.
Yeah,
So for me, that's important.
Any other questions or comments? I don't know if we actually take a motion on this. I don't have it marked. Did we get a motion on this? I don't have it marked.
Oh, no.
All right, need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Motion and second, final comments. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. I entertain a motion to table item 10,
Items A and B in particular.
item number 10, both A and B.
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's tabled, items tabled. Let's move on to item 11. Item 11 is licenses. We have one individual in their place of employment. Make a motion for approval.
Make the motion. Go ahead.
I'll second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Let's move on to item 12.
Jim, I'm sorry, I can't interrupt, but we missed the department and officers report. Number 10.
Oh, I thought that was just the two of them
Oh, I mean,
was part of it, but that's the subset. Okay, Jesse?
Sure. A couple of items. Unfortunately, our Paramount Plaza fountain was soaked once again. We had plenty of soap suds in and around the fountain. Unfortunately, what we're finding this particular time is there's a lot of residue involved with whether it's some unique type of soap or different type of soap. So we are paying very close attention, and we'll be going through all of the equipment with a fine tooth comb to make sure there was no damage done. That being said, considering the time of year, I believe staff is going to go ahead and winterize the fountain right away. But that said, funny, not funny type of situation at Paramount Plaza. The All My Friends Playground fence project, we'll be looking to get that started and finalized before the end of the month here. We are actually working to get some instructions or best practices on how to install this vinyl or plastic material type fencing, decorative fencing with the donor names on it. So we will incur some charges with regards to getting that direction. But our public works crew will carry out the final actual installation of the fencing. The donor sign that was crafted as part of the project was made by CKC Graphics and will be installed by CKC Graphics. All of this with the oversight of the All My Friends Playground group. We do have a pretty important deadline coming up here where the posting for the Park and Recreation Director opening will be closing the middle of this week on the 6th. Currently, we have 7 applications on file. The few that I personally saw before turning them over to Administrative Assistant Sirach for keeping in the HR files were well qualified. So I'm hopeful that we do have a well qualified group, and we'll be looking to go through that process as expeditiously as we can in order to fill that role. Those are my updates for this evening.
We have Amber, Jessica, Keith, anything that you guys wish to add? Okay, open up,
So a lot of missed recyclable pickups.
Never got notification yet. They've been
Well, I've just
better.
been seeing things on Facebook, like when you're circling, like there's. they
Oh,
haven't been
yeah,
picked up, so-
right. I still don't think we have, from what I can tell, a consistent recycling driver. So, there's a lot of learning process going on.
just in my area, they're coming the next day.
More consistently than not.
Okay. Jim?
Jesse, have you reached out to the city of Port Washington as far as the pickets? They have the same sort of fencing up around the park of theirs up at the bluff.
Sure, I can check with them. Absolutely. It sounds like a good resource.
I believe we reached out to them last year and made some contact, and unfortunately, they didn't have really any directions or much to help us, but we can definitely ask again.
Very similar situation.
Right. Theirs was all installed by their volunteer group, so the city didn't have much information to share with us.
There's also the Shaw Family Playground in Sheboygan that has a similar.
Just trying to get around that expense that it looks like we might have.
Yeah, it might be a couple of bucks, but I think it'd be well spent to make sure we do it right. That's going to be key. Yeah, we will check with the city of Port Washington. Absolutely.
Harmon may have another.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, other comments, questions?
Jesse, any thought on giving us those employee survey results?
Still working on an action plan with the management team, and once we have that management plan or action plan, if you will, then all of that will be shared with the board. So that is forthcoming.
Okay, and I didn't see a recent Houseman and Find itemized bill. Maybe,
I know one went out with a recent weekly bulletin. I would have to check on the timing of that. Usually there is about a month delay.
okay,
But yes, I would have to verify when the last one was sent out with the weekly bulletin. I don't
Okay.
recall off the top of my head.
and then just FYI, I'm not sure if you realized today when you sent the weekly bulletin, you noted today we were gonna have plan commission. But I think we all knew that was a mistake.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So with that being said, let's move on to item 12, entertaining the motion for approval of village expenditures, $287,426.95.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and second. I saw the back and forth on some of the questions. Any final questions?
I did. Jesse, I'm sorry, I didn't get my questions over
It's
on
okay.
time, but most of them were answered. I just have 2 quick questions. On page 3 of the trustees, there's batteries plus for the public library. Wouldn't that be on the library budget? Or a building?
I would have to verify what the account number is, but the account number should reflect that it would be a,
2184. 2184 batteries plus for public library.
I should make sure it's on the corporate side or the library for,
And then one other question, page 5 of trustees, mailers, continuing disclosure reporting, what is that?
We have requirements related to debt service and a list of items we have to make sure that we follow, any events that we have to report. They manage that for us and they report that to us for the SEC.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jesse, you did answer the questions on billings that I had submitted, but I do have a comment about the short Elliott Hendrickson billing.
Yep.
For over $10,000 to do modeling of water and sewer. It seems like a very pricey amount. I'm not sure that SEH even, or that the village even had modeling of our sewer system to begin with. And I'm wondering, is the majority of that cost related to modeling of our sewer system? We've never done that before. I can see where modeling of water system is important in terms of determining impacts or deficiencies relative to a development of such as Stonewall Farms, but sewer, that's something I believe we should be able to do in-house. And the other comment I would have is that especially if the modeling is suggesting that there will be upgrades to some of our infrastructure, talking about pump stations, in the sewer system, those are upgrades that are due to development, and certainly as part of any developer's agreement. I remind staff that that is something that they're going to be obligated to pay.
No, and I appreciate that comment, because that is exactly what has been built into the draft development agreement that Director Wolf, Director Thomas, and I sat down and went through late last week with regards to the pending Stonewall Farms development. That is written that way, where that basically improvements caused because of the new development would be subject to.
I think we have to be careful there, is you can only assign the percentage of the utility that's being, because there's Schrader Farm that's over there, it's obviously being sized for that whole area.
So, yeah, and our engineers know how that works. You take that
No, I get it.
undeveloped area and it's a prorated amount.
Right,
of
and that's
cost.
that's what I wanted to make sure that we were in agreement, that's a prorated.
Oh, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because you can't put everything on one developer.
No, it would be what the upgrades are based upon what is being created, not for.
And,
Yep.
and just one more comment. I just want to remind staff that we have a lot of sewer system planning that is in reports on the shelf, collecting dust, that would identify things such as capacity and ability to serve some conditions like this without going to a consultant and adding to the bill of what is already a pretty pricey amount.
Yeah, so you're right, a large portion of the cost is on the sewer side, not on the water side. The water side is much easier to look at. The sewer side, because of our past planning, the Stonewall Farms area was not all planned to go 9th Avenue and 11th Avenue lift station. So that's where there was additional modeling to look at, because per our sewer planning, a portion of it was supposed to go south to Bottle. So it kind of switched up our past planning to look at, okay, now what would that change, sending it all north? At the developers, direction, yes.
Okay, I accept that.
And it'll be cast back. The cost will.
It is my understanding in past practice that the modeling portion was paid for by the village.
It has, that's correct. It hasn't in the past because it's never been that significant. It's always amounted to $1,000 or $2,000 bucks.
I guess I was talking about the actual capital.
Correct. The actual infrastructure improvements.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, noted comment. Yep.
I have one question, Jesse, on the second batch, page 1, under Ascension Employer. It looks like we're there, it says Brecken, hepatitis A and B. Were those injections that were given? Under Ascension Employer
Yes,
Solutions?
especially our sewer plant.
Oh, yeah.
So we do provide hepatitis shots to employees that
Okay,
when they're initially hired.
okay.
Okay, that being said, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 13, motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.